Okay, I'd like to welcome people to round 3 of the WKPDC. Yeah, right. On the affirmative is Pakistan B. Could I find out what order the speakers are in? Daniel is 2, Saeed 1.
No, Hassan is 2, Daniel is 3, Asad is 1.
3, 1. And on the negative is Estonia. Caitlin is 2.
Yes, Vicky is first. And
Vicky
Diana
is first. And Diana is third. We'll get started shortly. I will do my best to hold up time signals, but I'm hoping that you all have your stopwatches and keep track of your own time as well. There are feedback forms on the judges. You can make sure that you get those filled out after the decision has been announced. On behalf of the affirmative, I would like to welcome Saeed to the front of the room. A speech of no longer than 6 minutes. In support of today's motion, which is targeted online data based on user profiles and demographics, should be banned. Saeed, if you want to walk over to that door real quick and just pull it shut, that might keep the room quieter. Thank you.
One of my friends has 80% male friends on Facebook. He has visited pages relating to weight loss and read some funny articles on BuzzFeed about fruit comas. Based on that, Facebook will now advertise weight loss tips for him. That sounds funny, doesn't it? It doesn't sound so funny when another one of my friends, also has 80% male friends, has visited and liked LGBTQ support pages. And on basis of that, when he's using Facebook in front of me, an ad comes out about helping him come out. 12, 13, 15 years of silence ruined in one go. Why? Because Facebook thinks that it is now okay for them to tell you what is better for you, what is more profitable for them, and that they're necessarily the same thing. And that is why Team Pakistan affirms this motion. That said, we're going to talk to you about 3 things. I'm going to talk to you about how this is an intrusion of personal space and is therefore morally repugnant. We're going to talk to you about how such advertising turns consumers, normal human beings, into commodities, basically cereal boxes on shelves somewhere. Thirdly, we're going to talk to you about the absolutely horrible long-term and short-term consequences that it's going to have. That said, let's move on to how this is an intrusion of personal space and is morally repugnant. Now, throughout the world, we're allowed to maintain public images for ourselves. What people know about us is frankly quite limited. Because think about it like this, when you're walking down the street, absolutely anonymously, how many people there know your name? How many of those people know what you think, what your sexual orientation is, whether you're married or not? They don't, do they? But Facebook does. And Facebook, in its terms and conditions, states explicitly that we will not share this information with anyone. Yet, it does. How does it do it? Facebook does it by running it through an algorithm and saying that, well, it's okay for us to not give you information, but we will turn you into a commodity like it. But it is very important that you have that, be able to maintain that public image. Why? Because in most cases, for example, taking the example of homosexuals again, ladies and gentlemen, protects them from any public backlash that they may have. That is the importance of your privacy. And even when you choose to reveal a piece of information about yourself to somebody, even then it can't be used against you. For example, if you were to tell somebody that you're homosexual, there are laws that protect you from being discriminated against. And all of these are being eroded by Facebook because they decide that we're going to, based on what people like and what they've stated about themselves on Facebook, we're going to decide what advertising they get and what other people can make of this advertising. And we feel that that is morally harmful, if nothing else. That said, let's talk to you about how this is commoditization of consumers. Look at it like this, ladies and gentlemen. We tell Facebook a couple of things about ourselves, that we are often allowed to keep private. You have a huge number of privacy settings on Facebook, yet Facebook itself does no. You confide all of your deep, dark secrets that you keep from so many other people in Facebook. And Facebook shamelessly hands them out like pieces of card, or literally the same way as the United States government did in the case of Edward Snowden, whereby just because I was going to call somebody in the middle of the night in Pakistan, I would be a suspicious terrorist and could possibly be sent to Guantanamo to be waterboarded. We feel, and that what Facebook is doing with us is then selling this information, is asking advertising companies to pay huge sums of money just so you can take certain pieces of information that quite frankly may not even make sense about people, and build a complete personality profile on it. Just because you like certain pages or you like doing certain things on Facebook, you may be homosexual. And what is even more frightening is that they're often right about it. Can you really allow somebody to invade in your privacy like that? And even if they aren't right about it, would you then be okay with somebody stereotyping you and saying that just because you like certain things, you may or may be something else? We don't feel that that's okay, and we especially don't feel that making money off it is acceptable. That said, let's talk about the consequences. For example, what would happen if private companies decide to give this out to somebody else? It's already been contemplated in Canada by insurance companies. People say who visit lots of pages about cancer will now have higher insurance premiums if they're looking for cancer, or if they're going for health insurance, or cancer may completely be excluded from their insurance. We believe that that is harmful, and private companies have a much higher incentive to share this information because in the end, A, they exist for profit, and B, even if they don't exist for profit, that is the point of advertising, making profits greater for private companies, and we feel that that is harmful. This is no less than what happened with Edward Snowden. He told you that if the United States government is compiling information based on you, literally based on where you call and the words you use, is this any less? And let's talk about long-term consequences for a second. Imagine a world where all of this information about you, which may not even, you may not even know yourself, is used against you. You can't buy health insurance without being happy. You're discriminated against. You're sent to jails and waterboarded just because you think certain things. Do you really want to live in a world like that? Do you really want to let people discriminate against you? If this was done anywhere else, if information like this was done anywhere, it would be stereotypical. But it's okay because Facebook does it. Absolutely not, ladies and gentlemen. You simply cannot stand for this.
Would you like to take any preparation?
Yes, thanks.
fact, most pieces of information about yourself
All right,
are private.
thanks. But all of the information that we put on Facebook, because we talk a lot about Facebook in your speech, do you choose to put that information there or do you not?
And you choose that with terms and conditions of Facebook saying categorically that we will not share this with anyone. And we feel
Okay,
that
thanks.
even if that information sharing was legitimate, making a commodity out of someone, literally making somebody into a cereal box for sale in the supermarket, is not a legitimate use of that information.
So you're saying that Facebook is doing something illegally, like not in accordance with their terms and
No,
conditions?
we feel that what they're doing is illegal and what they're doing is morally repugnant, and any practical consequences that it may have in the short term and long term are all not something that you can stand for.
All right. So if we're talking about targeting audiences in real life, like for example on TV, when we're watching America's Next Top Model, we have makeup commercials. Why is it not okay on the internet then?
Because on the internet, it's much, much more specific. Even on televisions, you don't allow certain types of advertising at all. For example, cigarette advertising, because you feel that it may have certain very harmful consequences. Because cigarette advertising has been known to target teenagers, specific groups of people. You ban it on TV, and you must ban it on the internet where it is interactive, and that information that they have is much greater.
All right. So do you think that it is very bad for private companies to actually make profit? Is it not their ultimate goal?
We don't have a problem with private companies making profit. They're companies. They're supposed to make profit. However, you do restrict them from making profit in certain ways, such as you do not allow them to discriminate in employment, and we don't feel that is policy that is stereotypical.
Thanks, but do you not feel that the consumer himself or herself is also going to get some profit, like become a more conscious consumer, become more aware?
We feel that if somebody gets nice fruit shakes, that is less important than somebody being outed as gay and then being publicly persecuted for it in countries like Iran or Pakistan, for example.
How likely is it that if you get private advertising on your Facebook account that you are going to be publicly persecuted for it?
We feel that the likelihood of somebody actually benefiting from this is much lower, and B is much, much less important than the likelihood of that harm. Even if it happens to 1% of people, and we believe it's much greater than that. We told you that it's 88% of people whom Facebook can correctly predict sexual orientation for. 88, that's nearly 9 in every 10. Then we feel it is not okay to do it.
Okay, so do you think that public sphere on the internet is actually very greatly different from real life?
No, we don't feel that it is very greatly different.
Okay,
We don't feel that it should be.
So I'll check the negative preparation time again. You've got 6:49 remaining. Six minutes left. Five minutes left.
and gentlemen, we think that the proposition has very much to put all of their effort onto talking about Facebook. But we're not just talking about Facebook. We're talking about Google, we're talking about all other forms of media, we're talking about The Economist, and Facebook is a very marginal part of actually what this debate is about. But now, I will want to bring to you 3 points of rebuttal, and then I'm going to talk about our 2 own arguments. First of all, why this is an ethical thing to do, and secondly, how it is going to be more, I'm going to talk about market efficiency. But now moving on to the rebuttal. The first thing that they said, that companies are going to use my information against me, and they're sort of framing it this way, that it's all going to be used against me. This is actually not true. What those companies are doing is actually pretty much benefiting me, because I can now have access to the stuff I want to. I can now learn about products that I would be interested in, that I would be interested in. And therefore, the proposition framing this as this is something that is attacking me personally, that is just not true, because it isn't. And then they talked about gay people who will be somehow outed. But this is, this is actually a case where nobody else is actually going to find out about any of these things. When a company finds out that you're liking LGBT stuff, then they're going to show you these ads, and only you. Nobody else is going to find out about it. And even if you are really so much afraid about being outed as gay, then you're just not going to like these things in the first place. So we think that this being outed stuff is completely false also. Now moving on to our second point of rebuttal. They talked about invasion of privacy. And we think this is actually not an invasion of privacy. This is a computer that is gathering algorithms about how groups of people, or about how certain people behave, what they like, what websites they visit, and so forth. This is a computer which is gathering this information, and a computer which is distributing these ads. There's not a single other person but you involved in this. So no other person is actually going to find any information. It's just a computer is just going to distribute stuff, and nobody else finds out about it. This is not an invasion of privacy. This has nothing to do with privacy at all. Now moving on to the last thing they said. They talked about long-term effects, and they talked about short-term effects, and they talked something about cancer which we didn't really understand, and we would like for them to explain it in their next speech. But about the long-term effects, we think if people don't want all of these effects, they're not going to be doing this in the first place. They're not going to be putting their information up on Facebook or anywhere else. But they do it anyway because they don't value privacy all that much. And I'm going to talk about that in our own argument more thoroughly. Now moving on to our own constructive. The first thing that we want to talk about is why this is actually ethical. We believe, and the proposition agrees, that the internet is, a new public sphere. We spend so much time of our lives in there, and we actually do most of the stuff that we're doing in real life in there as well. In many countries, such as Estonia and Finland, you can pay taxes online, you can do everything that you pretty much do in real life online. And now, if we're talking about the real life, then it is completely okay to do the exact same thing in the real life. You can do political campaigns that are targeted to certain people in certain areas that you're probably going to be like your voters. You can sell stuff and sell services, again, targeting to certain people, targeting to certain groups. And you can also advertise stuff on TV. If I watched America's Next Top Model, then probably I'm going to get ads about makeup, because it's the exact same thing. The TV is just collecting algorithms. Who is watching this show in the most particular time, and then they're targeting ads to that same person. So we think that if this is okay to do that in the real life, and if, as the proposition also said, that the internet is the same as the real life, then, by extension, we think that it is completely okay to do the same thing in the internet as well, because the internet is an extension of us in the real life. And in order to win this debate, the proposition actually needs to prove to us that the internet is different, that the internet has to apply to different rules, but rules that are different from the real life, and they have actually not proved that still. And moreover, we think that people don't really care about privacy on the internet. They put up stuff on Facebook, they register on sites, and they click agree on the terms of agreements and terms and conditions, and they never read them. The fact is that these terms of conditions do say that it is possible to gather this information, and they do say that we are going to distribute this information to these companies. But people don't read them, and people accept them because they willingly give away their privacy because they don't care about it. Therefore, we see that this is already like a justification for doing this because people are giving this information willingly. And if they wanted, were afraid of being persecuted, they wouldn't do it, but they're doing it because they don't care. And now moving on to our second point about the market efficiency. We think that this thing is actually really beneficial to both the firm and both the consumer. Now, talking about the company itself, they can improve their targeting and reach the consumers that probably want to buy their products the most. This is like a very efficient way of marketing because they're reaching their consumers, they're reaching the people who want this particular product, and they can make more profit because they have more consumers, and their consumers, know what they want and are not willing to pay for it. And it is also beneficial to the person because I will have access to the stuff, I will learn about the products that I want to know. Like if, for example, I read a lot of economists, then I will have the ask that it say, go subscribe to Foreign Affairs, and that's exactly what I want to do because I'm interested in this stuff. So it is beneficial for me because I get the products that I want, and I can be a more smart consumer by buying the things that I actually need and I'm interested in. And for all of these reasons, we would beg to oppose.
Would you like
Could you maybe tap the table when it's time?
Okay, I don't think she was on there.
Oh.
But yes, I will do that. Would you like any preparation time?
Yeah,
Cross-examination. Use the minute of time. Use 2 minutes. So, for preparation time, this is cross-examination, should last 3 minutes.
Do you believe the surveillance carried out by the NSA in the United States was justified?
This is an entire different debate.
But do you believe the model behind it was justified?
That is actually different. They were literally listening to what you were talking on the phone. That's not the same.
Okay, but when you are looking at exactly where people are going, the sites they're using, you're having certain information which these private companies feel is best for these people, like the government may feel is best for their people. So the principle is the same. Do you feel it's justified for the NSA to do that?
We think that it is not justified for the NSA to do it, but this is again a different thing because
So
here
you,
have an
thank you.
actual
So you
person
can,
listening to
thank
you.
you, madam. Do you concede that the privacy of people is important to a large extent, and the people, even if they consent to being ruled by a certain government, or in this case, consent, although we don't believe they do so, even if they consent to these companies, Facebook or whatever, having certain information, it's not justified for you to look into anything you want. All right. Next question. So, do you believe that profit motive exists for these companies?
Can you say it again?
Do you believe a profit motive exists for these companies?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. So, do you believe that? Well, so you say people won't find out about this information that is being taken from these people, right?
No, because it's a computer doing this stuff.
All right. So, for example, Facebook gets your information, and considering you just conceded there's a profit motive, do you not feel Facebook can sell this information to, for example, factions against LGBTs? For example, the Canada insurance case, which we talked about, ladies and gentlemen, because of the profit motive, because they, by the end of it, want to make a profit and can use this information to make that profit.
Well, this is actually, again, an entirely different debate because this Facebook can actually do even without these algorithms that are done, that you want to ban. Even if you ban it, Facebook can do it just as well.
Oh, so you believe it is wrong, because then hence you should ban it, hence there can be a stricter check on it. So you believe the problem does exist, but you're doing nothing about it. Anyways, do you believe that people should be forced to give out every personal detail on Facebook or other such sites as Gmail?
The thing is, they're not forced. They're forced to give their email
Okay,
address,
I
their
know,
name,
I
and
know.
their
Thank you,
gender.
ma'am. I understand what your case is, but considering, for example, there is no consent, do you then believe it is justified?
Without consent to ask for these people's information.
Yeah,
By
that is.
asking it, and if they answer, then that's a consent.
But I know that's a consent, madam. But if there isn't a consent, do you then believe it's okay to take this information?
No, but if they don't consent,
So
then
it's
they're
not
going to
okay.
answer.
So you believe the privacy does exist by the internet, and all we need to prove to you in this debate is how the consent does not exist. In fact, I'll ask you that. Can you give us a source or a citation for these any site which proves to us that indeed there is a consent in all of those 20-page long terms of agreements which you told us to that
Well,
exist?
you click I agree, that's like the definition.
Okay, so
of
if
consent.
it's written, I agree to be slave for Facebook, you will agree to it and you will be their slave.
It's time.
It's said in the terms and conditions, you don't read them and you agree to them.
I will continue with the affirmative preparation. You have 5:15 left.
Oh,
Oh, you're ready. Okay. So to speak on behalf of the negative, Mohammed will speak for no more than 5 minutes. Negative. Affirmative. Mohammed for no more than 5 minutes. Okay.
So in the cross-examination, team opposition comes up and we ask them this question, well, is the NSA surveillance justified? They say, well, it's not justified. The reason why it's not justified is because they're tapping your phone calls without your consent. Do you, when you sign up to Facebook, tell them that you're homosexual or heterosexual? Do you tell them what your ethnicity is? No, right? What happens is that they find out your ethnicity through those very algorithms that team opposition here talked about. And that is exactly what we're telling you. The reason why this is not different from the NSA surveillance is because you're not consenting to giving this information, but Facebook is forcefully extracting this information and using it against you. So if you're principally for privacy, if you're principally justifying the fact that privacy exists, then how can you be for this breach of privacy? With that, now let's talk to you about the two issues that I will be talking to you in my case, right? So firstly, I'll talk to you about whether the intrusion of public space is ever ethical, and secondly, I'll talk to you about whether harmful consequences is efficiency or not. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, whether intrusion of public space is ever ethical. They said, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why it's ethical is because you're benefiting from it, ladies and gentlemen. We believe you're not benefiting from it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our entire argument about consequences. We told you, ladies and gentlemen, that the harm exists not only when other people find out, but also because your rights will not be respected, ladies and gentlemen. Also, how privacy is something which is inherent to an individual, and it's your inherent right to construct your public image in a way way you want to. And that is what Facebook is hindering over here. It is constructing that public image for you, ladies and gentlemen, without you consenting to it. They said, well, you read your Facebook, you never read your Facebook terms and conditions, so it is your fault. This is something which is present within law, ladies and gentlemen. If you consent to slavery, if you consent to being a slave for someone for the rest of your life, should you actually go on and do that, or should the government take an action against it because it is morally repugnant? This is a law which is about unconscionability, ladies and gentlemen, which says that even if slavery is something which you consent to, you should not do it. Why? Because it is morally repugnant, because it is unethical. Something that we talked about from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, well, they said the problem is that no one finds out about this. We said yes, in some situations people might not find out about it, but we gave you this example. I'm sitting in a public space, I'm using my Facebook account. Facebook advertisement shows up talking about homosexuals, giving me advice on how to out myself and helping me to join a support group. Is that not outing information, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is a chance, it is a possibility, it is a probability. But so is everything else, ladies and gentlemen, and that is exactly what we're telling you. Even if the possibility of this coming out is very low, the consequences are very, very dire, ladies and gentlemen, because people will take actions against them. That's where the principle of discrimination works, ladies and gentlemen, how people can work against ethnicities. That's where cyberbullying comes in, ladies and gentlemen, how people can bully you because of your certain characteristics, which is why you provide privacy to people in the first place. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about how you're commodifying consumers and that is not justified. We said, ladies and gentlemen, you're a certain way. Can someone be allowed to make money on it? They said, well, we do it all the time in the real world, so it's justified, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that's not the case. Even in the real world, you respect people for their rights. If you don't force people to wear their name tags, ladies and gentlemen, you don't force people when they're walking on the street to declare whether they're heterosexual or homosexual. The reason why you do that, ladies and gentlemen, is because you realize that it is not principally justified to commodify them on the basis of these characteristics. Something which we believe is unethical in the first place, something which we believe that second negative needs to talk about as to how this is ethical. Moving on to the consequences, ladies and gentlemen, which is where this debate mostly lies. How is these consequences very dire? I'll talk to you about 4 consequences. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, how this is comparable to the NSA and how that's bad. We said, ladies and gentlemen, what the NSA and what Edward Snowden told the world was that, well, people are surveilling you. You have private companies, you have the government using these technologies to surveil you, ladies and gentlemen. You have them tracking you down and then punishing you, putting you in jails, and basically forcing you to live your life in fear and paranoia, in insecurity, ladies and gentlemen. And that is exactly what we're telling you. They said, well, you learn about products, yes, that is a benefit, we realize that. But is learning about products a big enough benefit, ladies and gentlemen, for you to disregard the entire argument about privacy? Is learning about products, ladies and gentlemen, a big enough benefit for you in order for people to know about who you are, something which you've concealed because you didn't want to reveal that? Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to you about what happens to these minorities. For people like homosexuals, people like religion and ethnic minorities, ladies and gentlemen, you're putting them at a peril, because certain companies find out about them, they won't really like that. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, private companies. We told you that private companies are ready to disclose information because of lesser regulation and disregard for public interest. And for all of those reasons, ladies and gentlemen, in the long term, because you'll have a closely monitored society, vote proposition.
cross-examination period.
Hi. So, are you against targeted marketing on TV?
We believe targeted marketing does not happen on TV. You have a TV channel and advertisements show up, and they're not targeted. And if they're targeted, then they'll be even more harmful than the internet because people will find out who you are. And if you're on the TV.
Okay, but they are targeted. Like they have, for example, like certain families who have these things on TV, and so these things record like when do these families watch TV, and then these things say, oh, women watch America's Next Top Model, and then they're giving them Lancome ads. How is that not targeted?
We believe even if it is targeted, the internet is something that's different. The reason why the internet is different is because you have privacy laws existent on the internet simply because you realize that individuals have that privacy, which is why you give them these rights. On the TV, you have no such mechanisms of determining your privacy, of determining your limits, of determining the construct of your image.
Okay. But explain to us how will somebody be outed as gay as you have like very much.
Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, what they do is they use your algorithms, right? So for example, I'm visiting certain pages, they use it to advertise and randomly one advertisement shows up. Yes, there's a risk that someone might find out, but not even that, ladies and gentlemen. Advertisement companies know because they advertise that way, and even if only Facebook knows and the computer knows, that's also what happens with the NSA. Computers surveil you, but then people use this information against you. So these companies, ladies and gentlemen, like insurance agencies, have an interest in knowing how risky people are. So for example, by the way you visit pages, they can use this information to offer you certain policies, which we believe at the end of the day is you giving off information which is unethical, which has harmful consequences.
Okay, but how is that bad if an insurance company just happens to find you like looking at ads that about parasailing? Then it's good for the company that you're not going to give you like super big insurance.
That's exactly what we're saying. It might be good for the company, but you're making money of people. You're making money of people of information which they do not consent to give you, which is not justified, which is harmful.
Okay. But if you're gay and if you don't want to be outed suddenly, like there's like if you don't want to be outed, won't you just not like gay pride stuff on Facebook?
So that is what you're telling people to live their life in a certain way, not to like pages, not to express their opinions, not to write blogs, not to exist on the internet simply because you believe that the profit of these companies is more important.
No, but if you don't want to be outed as gay, you won't like these pages anyway because everybody sees what you like.
No, that's the entire point. Facebook recognizes privacy, which is why when you live in Facebook, you know that this information is not being outed. It's a general image. When we like pages, we don't expect you to read whatever I'm saying. That's what Facebook promises. That's what you're going against. You're going against rights. You want a closely monitored society.
Okay.
Caitlin will speak for no more than 5 minutes.
Yes, but I will take a little bit of time.
Okay. You have 3:07 left.
about whether the internet is a public sphere, which they said in their first cross-examination. And in the second speech, we hear that internet is a totally different thing. Well, we need them to prove to us why is it different from the public sphere in order to win this debate. Now, we're very glad that they have taken over our structure and have talked about two things: ethics and the consequences, in our case, the benefits that the plan, that not conducting the plan brings along. I'm going to have two rebuttals, and then I'm going to have 2 points: ethics and the market efficiency. Now, firstly, they told about the harm that the people are going to know that I am gay if I go to gay sites. Well, and the fact that there's going to be public bullying just because of the things that I do online. But what we have been telling you about is the public image you can construct yourself. What other people see on your Facebook page is what you construct. But what is targeting is the fact that you get advertisement from those algorithms which haven't actually preceded the information, your personal information, but actually have used statistics, which is a very common thing to do. And if they tell us that making money off of advertisement is a very bad thing, then excuse me, why do we have advertisement at all? Why do we allow companies to have advertisement at all? Now, moving on to the second point, where they talked about minorities and how those minorities are going to be hampered. And the only example they bring us is the LGBT community. And the fact that I will be targeted with commercials about outing myself. We say that it is your decision to go online and start liking and visiting the pages of LGBT communities. It is the same decision that you do in that society when you decide to go to the support group of LGBT. Then it's your decision to come out, to show people, to show the society that you are interested in these topics. And as we have told you, and as I'm going to reiterate, that the internet is our modern public sphere, then that is nothing different from that. Now, moving on to the ethical point. Well, their only idea is about the NSA, the fact that they tapped your phones, that they used your personal information, the things you say, against you. That example is not what we are talking about. We are talking about statistics. The general statistics about people are very much visiting that page, and then we go through those algorithms, the information. For example, if I go look at car sites online like Mercedes, BMW, and so on, then it's very good if on Facebook I get advertisements of new sales, of new models coming out. We say that is a good thing, and that enhances our society. Now, if they want us to give us a reasoning for how it is ethical, we say that it is ethical on the very grounds that we are not hampering anyone's privacy. They decide what information they put on Facebook. If they put on Facebook something about their orientation or something about where they live, what they like, that is their decision, and that is out there for everybody else also, not only those algorithms. So we say that there is no invasion of privacy, and we don't see, based on their NSA example, how and if they have consented to it. If there are terms and conditions that you tick and don't care about reading them, then it is your problem. You're already willingly giving away that bit of privacy that you're supposed to be so concerned about. And if you don't like it, don't go on Facebook, don't go on that site, and everything is very much fine. And we're really, really upset that the opposition has not talked about us about other ways of doing it. Now, moving on to market efficiency and talking about the fact that the companies benefit. As Vicky told you, they benefit because they now have more clients, more money, and they have a targeted group that is going to consume their products. Whereas if they consume the products, they can now develop and upgrade them better because they know what the people want. And therefore, we enhance business. Now, coming to the benefits of the individual, what they haven't tackled is the fact that through Facebook, if I choose that I want to, for example, promote a debating event, then I can choose to pay 50 euros for it and have it sent out to all different debating societies and people involved over there. Because those people want to know about it, but they might not get to know about it because the internet is such a huge territory, and I just might not find the information that I'm actually looking for. And whereas it is very good, for example, NGOs to find somebody to invest in their philanthropic ideas and goals, and we see that the people that want to help, people that want to participate in different events, often cannot do so because the information doesn't reach them. And this plan is exactly what is going to hamper the very same thing, because our society, which is very fast-paced, we really need to get information fast. And if we have a model that helps us do that, then we say we should do it, because we actually have privacy, and we're just using the means to make our society more efficient. And for those reasons, I'm very glad to oppose. Thank you.
We'll have one more cross-examination session. Do you want to use some preparation time before? Five minutes left. Three and a half left. Stopping the affirmative preparation time. We'll have a cross-examination period. We're going to
why do your Facebook and email accounts have passwords?
So that nobody else could access the, nobody else could, send emails under your name, for example.
Right, but you were about to say that nobody else can access them. Isn't that part of having a password?
No, accessing, for example, in case of, yes, emails is okay, but in Facebook, you put information so that other people could meet you and know things about
have
you.
a password then?
No, it needs to have, because if it didn't have, then people could write under my name things that I'm actually not consenting to. That is bad, but if I do it myself...
So if you had a password only for posting on Facebook, then it would be okay, but people allowed to do everything else, see everything else if you go on Facebook, correct?
That's pretty much how the system right now works,
And
because everything that you do is visible to other users. Only the information...
No, actually, Facebook has lots of privacy settings, like you did say in your second speech. People can hide what other people say about them if they aren't friends. You can hide things from your friends. You have restricted lists.
But in this
But
case,
you are allowed to hide certain things on Facebook.
we don't understand why is it necessary for me to put information about me online if I don't want to share it with anybody else. And that setting, in case of Facebook, we think it's irrelevant. It shouldn't be there, because if I don't want to share information, if I don't want anyone to secretly know about
You're actually going to be mean enough to say that if you don't want to tell other people things, you should use the internet.
We want you to tell us why should I put my hobbies, for example, online and hide it from other people from knowing it. What in essence is the point of
The
that?
idea of Facebook is that you hide it from certain people, and that discriminatory element where you let certain people see information and not others is finished when you bombard people with advertisement. Agree?
No.
Right. So you have friends on Facebook, those who can
I
see.
do have friends on Facebook, thank you very much.
Right. So there are certain people who can see more information than less information. Yes.
In some cases.
So you agree that there is a differential of information on Facebook.
Well, right now there a little bit is, yes.
Yes, but it does exist. Don't you think that that's finished when some computer picks up information about you and
No,
throws
it's
it at
not
somebody
finished,
else?
because in that case the computer is going to throw that information to you.
Right.
Your hobbies, your
Alright,
interests, and it keeps you targeted information about things you're interested in, not the whole society.
Right.
It's not going to give about like Kathleen Lambert really likes debating. Nobody knows it unless
Right. say there's somebody on Facebook, she's a woman, she's white. Is it okay to then say that she will have certain likes? Wouldn't this anywhere else be considered discriminatory?
Please rephrase that question.
For example, if there was a, say, black teenager on Facebook, would it be okay to advertise, say, good lawyers? That's fine.
The affirmative has 3 minutes and 17 seconds remaining in preparation time. I think I'll pause before everybody else is going. I was thinking about going to the Northern Islands. It sounds very interesting, but it's not one of the official excursions. And it turns out it would be a bit more expensive. I was surprised at how much public bus transportation costs. It's more expensive to go to the ferry port than to get to Dublin. It was 19 euros to take the bus from Galway or the ferry to the island. The ferry fare was not bad. Yeah. 2 minutes left. Break my raincoat. No better way. It's a wonderful walk. Did you walk along the river? Yeah. Yeah, it's not that far away. A minute and a half left. Have you gotten to the center yet?
Yeah, we went there the first day. Because we wanted to do the other excursions, so now we can.
Sure.
Because otherwise we just.
Yeah, there's quite a few. It's a
We
big
can't decide if we're going to do the castle or something close to it. I've been asking like all the locals to see what they say, and they look across the table. It's like to the castle.
1 minute left.
both has exactly what they do.
30 seconds.
Just because I'm that certain places, which you know, I do something which is, in my opinion, is impressive right now. They're using it completely. That's what NSA does. It's actually stuff. Keywords. और तू खाली Facebook पे तू Gmail क्या सकते हैं आप Facebook पे information consent करते हो तू Gmail पे focus करते हो Gmail को अलग आप ऐसे लोग Gmail पे अब आप email को भी स्नूप करते हैं आपको information मिलती है आप कुछ नहीं करते आप बस आपको Gmail को आपको email से करते हो तो ये भी नहीं पता है वो text messages तो वो कहते हैं different है वो text messages पर है ये पर है ये बहुत ही powerful है पहले
That's it. The time is finished. It's time, Daniel. To close the debate for the affirmative, Daniel has 5 minutes.
Don't oppose the technology.
Okay, it's time to begin.
This is second, so we're done. So the entire case of Team Estonia today was shifted from the first to the second speaker. The first speaker comes up and talks to us about, well, nobody apart from the companies finding out, ladies and gentlemen, or nobody finding out as a whole. Whereas the second speaker comes up here and tells us that, well, even if they might as well just find out, you should not post these things on the internet in the first place. Now, we believe that's not right. When Hassan was being cross-examined, ladies and gentlemen, they considered that people should just keep their information private or should not like or visit pages if they are conscious about whatever they are, whether they're gay, whether they have certain ethnicities or whatever. Now, 3 things can be picked out from this. Firstly, they can see that information can be outed and hence a problem or a potential harm exists. Hence, you should just visit these pages in the first place. So what are you doing about this policy? In fact, you're just propagating it. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, they're prioritizing markets and they market ads and companies, ladies and gentlemen, over the people's privacy and their fundamental rights in the first place. We showed you how it's morally repugnant. An entire analysis presented by us, ladies and gentlemen, but never tackled by Tunisia. And the third thing picked out from this is, ladies and gentlemen, they want to remove the identity or the existence of these people from the internet simply because a harm exists, but we're doing nothing about it, ladies and gentlemen. This was a very contradictory and a problematic point which we have to bring to you for Team Estonia. So friends, I have 3 main issues to which this debate has boiled down to. Firstly, is it okay to trump a human's privacy due to market efficiency? Secondly, what are real world dynamics, ladies and gentlemen, in this debate? And thirdly, are consumers turned into commodities? Is that morally repugnant and is that justified? So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about whether or not privacy can be trumped by moral efficiency. So what was their claim? Their claim essentially was that just algorithms will be finding out what your information is and just algorithms knowing is okay. That is exactly the case in the NSA, ladies and gentlemen, where just algorithms or just computers tap your phones. And listen, not entirely, ladies and gentlemen, to target certain people, you need firstly people behind those desks who are working so they know. But even if we concede that nobody knows, ladies and gentlemen, we told you how exactly it's morally repugnant even for these companies to know, because by the end of the day, they have not consented to it. And the idea of consent which we presented was two-pronged. Firstly, we told you how exactly by the end of the day, just because you consent to something doesn't mean it's set in stone. Just because you don't read those agreements but yet click on, well, I will be a slave for the rest of my life, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean you actually do consent to it. What did the second speaker have to say to that? Nothing at all, ladies and gentlemen. She in fact dropped it. The second idea for consent we brought to you was, ladies and gentlemen, because we asked them for citation. We asked them for actual proof that these websites such as Gmail or Facebook actually tell you that your emails will be read and your emails will be spread around, ladies and gentlemen. Your emails by the end of the day will be used by these private companies. Never shown to us, hence the consent does not exist. And they've told us in their cross-examination, if the consent does not exist, ladies and gentlemen, they are against the NSA, they are against privacy being breached, and hence, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of the day, the whole idea of privacy falls to us. Now, why is privacy important? Privacy is important, like we told us, because it is a fundamental human right for these people. But even more furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, what's more important is that these people, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of the day, by virtue of being humans, have been granted this privacy so they can keep to themselves, so they can keep certain things out of the public sphere, ladies and gentlemen, and not out there. You do not, if you do want to wear a shirt saying I am homosexual, you can do that all you want, we're not stopping. But if these people have to hide it from them, they feel they're insecure about it, that is the harm by the end of the day which we're talking about. And this is what they are not catering to, hence this whole issue falls to us. So secondly, what are real world dynamics, ladies and gentlemen? On television, you do not have targeted marketing. Let's get that out in the open right now. People do not know you're homosexual. People do not know whether or not you want a protein shake. People do not know whether or not you want a new laptop. It is random advertisement, and whoever can pay more will get that advertisement slot. You are not specifically targeted, ladies and gentlemen. So the whole claim of how this is very similar goes down the drain. Apart from that, people, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to understand is, when they talk about being ethical, ladies and gentlemen, the internet is supposed to be a haven where people do not exactly or entirely know to it. And this is where the idea of consent, which I've already dealt with, comes in, and the second speaker entirely dropped. Now coming to the last issue. Are consumers turned into commodities, and is it morally repugnant? We told you how exactly making a profit out of someone is when you are turned into a commodity, ladies and gentlemen, and that is wrong if you are a human being. That is wrong if you do it without their consent. The second speaker completely dropped this and never tackled it, ladies and gentlemen, and hence we believe by the end of the day, for these companies to make a profit off you without you even knowing is wrong. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, we told you in our first speaker speech how exactly identities are made on the internet, and these are mere assumptions. These are mere stereotypes. These are not these are not exact ideas which are 100% lazy. Just because I use a hair dryer every day doesn't mean I'm a homosexual lazy. I mean, these are stereotypes which we believe are wrong, and we believe that the internet is making on its own, and hence is morally repugnant as well. So for all those reasons, vote for the side which is giving the consent to people, giving privacy to people. Vote for Team Affirmative.
Close the debate for the negative. Oh, that's true. Yes, you have 45 seconds. So, when you do speak, Diana will give a speech for no more than 5 minutes. So it is the negatives preparation time has expired.
Okay.
So welcome Diana. Close the debate. No more than 5 minutes.
So right, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the Team Affirmative has actually kind of a little bit missed the debate. They told us about, why advertising, why making profit off of people as such is actually bad. So are they against advertising? Are they, arguing against advertising as such? Are they arguing against Facebook as such? And, the fact that their terms and conditions are not right enough for people to actually agree with them. So what we are going to be talking about, why is, alternative realities such as internet actually the same as real life? Why is it okay to advertise in such spaces? And thirdly, market efficiency, which the Team Affirmative did not deal with at all. So firstly, they agreed to the fact that internet is pretty much the same as a public sphere such as the social sphere in real life, right? So therefore, we can see that it's just as it is your concern to make your public image online and offline. It is your concern to see what the people know about you and what they don't know about you. Just as you share some closer information to yourself on Facebook, you also share it with your closer friends in real life as well. And this is something that we both agree upon. That online and offline communication has been becoming basically synonymous as far as we've come, with technology and the usage of Facebook and Twitter and other social media. So therefore, we agree with the fact that, it is your concern to actually see what you're putting up on those sites. And why is it okay for those sites to actually, use that information that you're voluntarily putting there is the fact that, well, first of all, we told you lots and lots about the consent that you're giving them. You know that you're giving this consent. We've been having lots of public debate about whether or not you should giving this the information out. And even though people are constantly hearing about the possible harms, they are still doing it. So therefore, we see that people are giving their consent. And do we actually value privacy as such that much? Well, Kathleen told you that no, we actually don't. If we are already putting this, that much information up there, then we probably don't actually value that information, because somewhere deep inside we know that we want people to know about us. We want, be in the public sphere, and we want to be known. So therefore, under this point also, none of this. What the proposition actually wanted you to believe is that, everybody's going to know about the ads that you're going to get. But we do not believe that that is actually true, because we've been telling you about the fact that, these ads are only going to be for you. You are going to see them on your account. And the marginal, possibility that somebody's going to hack into your account and see all the ads and then find out that you're homosexual, I mean, this is a very marginal chance compared to all of the benefits that we brought up to you. This is something that is for you to make you a more conscious consumer and to make the market more efficient, which is our third point. We do not believe in the very slight chance that there's going to be massive people persecuted for the fact that they're homosexual, and that there are ads for homosexuals on their Facebook account. It is just ridiculous. And now when we're talking about market efficiency, the point that they did not deal with at all, well, we are already data mining, and it is working perfectly fine. The world has not come to an end. Facebook is already targeting certain audiences, and it is working perfectly fine. People are getting more informed. People are getting more information about what they could be interested in and what they are interested in, and they are becoming more conscious consumers and better people as a result as well. And it's not only about the individuals; it's also about the companies. Like we told you, right? We told you about the companies making profit, and they told us that they have a fundamental problem with companies making profit, but. It's a tough world to live in. We live in a capitalistic world, and companies do make profit off of people. So therefore, we do not really see what kind of a claim would that be, right? We see that it is perfectly okay to companies strive towards being more efficient, and it's perfectly okay to companies do it on the expense of people. However, we do not believe that they are doing it on the expense of people's privacy, because once again, it is just an algorithm, right? Like Kathleen explained to you, the NSA example is completely irrelevant just because, you had people who eventually actually observed your information, but what happens with algorithms in this case is that, a person pays, for example, 50 euros to target people who are interested in debate or something like that, but it doesn't mean that that person who pays 50 euros actually finds out who are those people. They are just targeting them, but they do not know the name of these people. They do not know the age of these people. They just know that, their money is putting into use and making profit because, there are going to be more people attending their debate event or something like that. This is the logic that Kathleen explained to you. And we see that this logic still stands. We are not actually doing it on the expense of people's privacy. Therefore, it is perfectly fine to data mine, and it is perfectly fine to actually make our market more efficient because we are not actually harming anyone actively, and it is giving great benefit to us. So that's why I'm very happy to oppose. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Wonderful debate. If I could ask the debaters to go outside for a little bit and get you.